Yun, sige, wait lang. Wala pa yung mga group ko. Ito lang po yung ka-group ko na iba. Sige, pa-message mo na sa GC. Opo, na-message ko na din po. Wala ba? Tulog pa yan. Sige po, i-start ko na po. Wait lang po. Okay. So, good morning, classmates. Good morning po, Sir Brens. This is Group 5 and we're going to present our topic na elastic and inelastic response spectra. So, yan. So, punta muna tayo sa general concept ng response spectrum. So, response spectrum, ang definition niya is concerned with the max displacement of the structure or generally concerned with the max response of any other structure. So, ang response spectrum, napakasimple lang. So, you're going to record or tally or evaluate the effect ng earthquake sa isang building with respect to time. Tapos ay yung kanyang max displacement yung iyong i-consider. 'Di ba? Ang displacement is yung parang inaaral natin mga deflection ganyan. Tapos yung mga velocity kung gaano katagal or kung gaano kalakas yung pag-sway ng building and other forces. So yan, as you can see in the screen, the presentation, looking at your left side, yung building. So we have a building with the mass M. Tapos meron tayong damping coefficient or constant which is called C and the lateral stiffness K. And let's say yung U dot G ay yung earthquake force. So summation ng force horizontal, on your right you can see the equation ng ng yan, yung equation na yan. So Fi, this is the inertial force, and the Fd is the damping force, and Fs the elastic resisting force, which is equals to Pt, or the Ug, which is also equal to the earthquake force. So yan. So ang equation na to magagamit natin mamaya sa further discussion. So yung damping coefficient then i-explain ko din. So moving on. So the three important factors or the forces the factors na kailangan nating consider in the response spectrum is the displacement, the velocity, and the acceleration. So keep this in mind. So the displacement is syempre important yan. So we can know the maximum displacement ng building natin when it starts to sway during an earthquake. So the velocity ng building, so the acceleration din ng building. So these are very important factors in designing an earthquake-resistant building, considering the response spectrum analysis. So let's say for an example, as you can see in the presentation, we have, let's say this figure is a building. Yan. So ang response spectrum, ang concept niya, so let's say at t equals 0, ang nagkaroon ng earthquake, syempre 0 mm yung displacement niyan. So after 1 second, nag-start na mag-sway yung building, as you can see in this part of the figure. So meron nagkaroon ng displacement na 2 mm. So that is 1 second. So next one, after 2 seconds or after 2 seconds, nagkaroon ng displacement na 5 mm. So parang malaki na agad yung displacement after 2 seconds. Then after 3 seconds, let's say yan, syempre, ang building, 'di ba? Pagka nag-sway na siya, unti-unti na siyang babalik dahil ng damping coefficient. So yan. So 3 mm nagkaroon yung displacement niya after 3 seconds. So ang response spectrum ay kumbaga you take into account yung pinaka-max displacement na nag-occur or any max response like velocity or acceleration na nangyayari doon sa building. So in this case, at t equals 2 seconds, the maximum displacement that occur in the building is 5 mm. That's the maximum displacement or displacement nga. Ayan. So yan, ito yung example ng damper. Friends, in the figure, dampers are strategically placed in the building structure to control floor vibrations and building displacement, cater for occupancy comfort, and mitigate against major seismic events. So, going back dun sa ating kanina, sa equation natin, this is what we call the damping coefficient. Meron ang alam ko, lahat ng dampers, meron siyang damping coefficient na kino-consider sa design ng seismic resistant building. So yan. So this is the Type A 101 damper. The damper helps the tower to balance and reduces the swaying of the buildings due to heavy wind or earthquake. So yan. This is an example of a damper. So tingnan nyo naman kung gaano kalaki, considering the height of a one person na nakaupo doon lang, 'di ba? Kung so these are either siguro placed inside the building, sa gitna, or under the building. So meron namang iba't ibang klase ng damper. Hindi lang naman ganito. Meron din yung based on my research, meron din yung parang mga piston na na dampers na nakalagay sa base ng building. kumbaga hindi sinasabayan niya yung force ng earthquake pagka nag-occur doon sa building. Tas after ilang seconds, pag humupa na yung earthquake, unti-unti na din babalik yung building sa original position. Kagaya na sinabi ko kanina dito. So, dahil din yun ang effect ng dampers natin. Ayan. So, under the response spectrum is the elastic response spectrum. So, this design spectrum is intended for the design of new structures or a seismic safety evaluation of existing structures to resist future earthquakes. So, the jaggedness in the response spectrum is characteristic of that one excitation. The response spectrum for another ground motion recorded at the same site during the different earthquake is also jagged. But the peaks and valleys are not necessarily the same period. So, yan. Ito yung damping coefficient natin. So, at 1%, 2%, 5%, 10%, 20%. So, pag 1% lang, so this diagram or this spectrum is ina-analyze natin yung acceleration building. Tapos dito, with respect to time per second. So, yan. Tingnan nyo naman as t is equal to 0.5 or bago pa man siya mag 1 second, meron na agad siyang acceleration na malakas. So, unti-unti siyang nababa. So, malaking effect din yung dampers natin sa building. So, yan. Kung mapapansin nyo, pag liit, medyo malaki talaga yung acceleration. So, pag laki naman ng dampers natin, maliit lang yung acceleration natin. So, this was taken in a YouTube video. The title is The Concept of Elastic Design Spectrum. So, moving on, yan. So, this is an example also ng elastic response spectrum. So, dito naman with respect to displacement naman to, which is in inches. So, yan. So, yan. Tutigan yung mabuti. So, yan. That diagram is for the displacement. Titingnan lagi ito. Paano nakalagay dito, yun yung pinag-uusapan. So, dito, acceleration. Dito naman is inches. Displacement. So, yan. So, researchers have developed procedures to construct such design spectra from ground motion parameters. The design of the spectra should be representative of ground motions recorded at site during past earthquakes. So, if none have been recorded, the design spectrum should be based on ground motions recorded at other sites under similar conditions, like magnitude of the earthquake, distance from the site, fault mechanism, travel path of seismic waves, and soil conditions. So the design spectrum is based on statistical analysis of the response spectra for the available ensemble set of recorded ground motions. Statistical analysis of this data provide the probability distribution for the spectral ordinate, its mean value, and its standard deviation at each period Tn. So, dito? Kumbaga, sinasabi lang, kung walang na-record na design spectrum at a particular site, you should, kumbaga, consider these conditions para makapagkaroon ka ng similar or parang simulation na magiging design spectrum na kailangan mo i-consider pagka ikaw ay magde-design ng seismic resistant building. So, we should take into consider these 5 similar conditions. So, keep this in mind. So, the first one is the magnitude of the earthquake. Kung gaano kalakas yung earthquake na yon, intensity 4, magnitude 4.5, ganon. We should consider that. Yan. So, the distance from the site. So, syempre, iba't iba naman yung lakas ng earthquake depende sa distance from the epicenter or from the hypocenter, di ba? Ayan. So, the fault mechanism, yung type of faulting na nangyari doon sa earthquake na yon. Tapos ay yung travel path of the seismic waves. So medyo complicated na to. And also the soil conditions. So So we should consider that. So dito, this paragraph summarizes the design spectrum. So this design spectrum, so for the available ensemble or set of recorded ground motions, as what I have said kanina, the response spectrum, yun ay yung set ng recorded ground motions ang kino-consider natin. Yung mga peak displacement, peak velocity, and peak acceleration. So yan. So the statistical analysis of this data provide the probability distribution for the spectra, ordinate its mean value and its standard deviation at each period, Tn. Yan. So moving on, modern methods for the construction of EDS or the elastic design spectrum. Modern methods for constructing design spectra are based on probabilistic seismic hazard analysis, which considers the pass rate of seismic activity on all faults that contribute to the seismic hazard at the site, leading to a uniform hazard spectrum. Spectrum yan, mali lang ang nagka-typo lang. So yan. So ang ano lang dito, kumbaga ang pinaka meaning, wala taon. Wala pala akong marker din. So kumbaga imagine niyo na lang, nandito yung site, then sa bilog na yan. Tapos siyempre, kailangan mo i-consider kung may fault dito sa tabing to, meron din dito, meron din dito, meron din dito. So a-analyze mo yan lahat ng fault na yan na nasa gitnang yan. Tapos ayun, magkakaroon ka na ng uniform hazard spectrum. Kumbaga, yun na din yung design spectrum natin. Kailangan i-consider. Yun. So, moving on again. So, the use of elastic design spectrum. So, provides the basis for calculating the design force and the deformation of single degree of freedom systems to be designed to remain elastic. For this purpose, this design spectrum is used in the same way as the response spectrum was used to compute peak response. Peak response, yung pinag-uusapan natin kanina pa. So, comparison of EDS versus actual response spectrum. Yan, kumbaga ang kaibahan. So, the response spectrum for an individual ground motion differs from the design spectrum. Individual ground motion differs from the design spectrum. Such differences are to be expected because the design spectrum is not intended to match the response spectrum for any particular ground motion, but it is constructed to represent the average characteristic of many ground motions. Kumbaga, ito din yung overall definition ng na response spectrum natin at design. So that these differences are due to inherent variability in the ground motion and responses. So yan. Sabi dito, the design spectrum is not intended to match the response spectrum for any particular ground motion. Kasi ang response spectrum natin, ang design spectrum natin, nire-represent yung average characteristic ng many ground motion. Gaya ng displacement, ng velocity, at ng acceleration. Yun. So, yan. So far, naintindihan nyo ba yung discussion about elastic response at saka response spectrum? Hello? Ayan, sige. Moving on, a design spectrum differs conceptually from response spectrum into two important ways. So the jagged response spectrum is a plot of the peak response. Yon, sabi sa inyo, peak response of all possible SDF systems and hence is a description of a particular ground motion. The smooth design spectrum, however, is a specification of the level of seismic design force or deformation as a function of natural vibration, period, and damping ratio. For some sites, design spectrum is the envelope of two different elastic design spectra. Yan. So yan, as you can see in the presentation, meron naman tayong legend dito nakalagay. So as you can see, the solid line represents the elastic design response spectrum. Yan. Yan, nakikita niyo sa screen nyo. And the artificial response spectrum. Kumbaga yun yung actual mismo. Na nagkaroon lang na smoothening. Ginamit lang dyan na may ginawa lang dyan. Tapos yun, ito, ground acceleration, the period is in t seconds. Yan, artificial and the elastic design spectrum. Tandaan nyo yan. Okay. So furthermore, ito nakita ko lang to sa Facebook pero parang maganda siyang gamitin na galing siya sa Philippine Institute of Volcanoes and Seismology or the PHIVOLCS. Ito ay nangyari nung seismic yung nagkaroon ng parang mini earthquake sa Taal Volcano. Baga volcanic earthquake na siguro. So records of seismic waveform, the left, the frequency spectra, yan, the middle, and the frequency distribution, right. Ito yan. Of the pre-atomagmatic activity from 11 of 16 seismic stations on Taal Volcano. So, yan. Occur at 7:22 a.m. but the eruption was nearly continuous from 7:33 a.m. So, yan. So, kita niyo naman sa screen na ito yung artificial natin or the response spectrum. I-analyze mo lang yan. Ito ay yung frequency spectra. Ito pala, sorry. Nasa gitna. Ito, yan, yung seismic waveform natin. So, kumbaga, importante. Importante siya sa design natin ng buildings. I-take and consider natin yung mga record ng past earthquakes, yung mga pwede rin pang future earthquakes. Pwede natin ma-predict. Yan. This is an example of the frequency spectra. Yan. Tapos ito yung frequency distribution. So yan. So bago pala ako mag-move on dito sa inelastic spectra. So kumbaga yung elastic design spectra or response spectrum, makikita din natin sa ating NSEP 2015. Lang. Sana nandyan pa kayo. Yan, wait lang. Saan ba yun? Areo, NSEP 2015. Yan, the design response spectra. So yan, spectral acceleration. Yan yung sinasabi ko kanina. So ito lahat i-consider natin pag magde-design tayo ng seismic resistant building. Excuse me. So yan, sa mga time history analysis yung discuss na Mayan ng previous group. Yan, mga time history analysis, earthquake loads, yan. Ito consider natin to. Yan, meron din mga ganito. Pag kailangan natin consider ano pa ba? Saan yun? So yan, yun lang muna. Yan, ito pala. Baga nasa NSEP na din natin yung mga active faults natin sa buong Pilipinas. So pero ito pala. Distribution of the active faults and trenches in the Philippines. So yan, medyo malabo siya pag naka-zoom out. Pero pag ganito yung inisa-isa per region, mas makikita natin, diga. And may legend naman dito. Ayun, hindi ko alam kung ano pasa dun. So yan, ito sa region 1. Tapos region 2. So puntahan natin yung ating region. Ayan, region 4A. Yun ang Batangas. So di ba lagi naman natin naririnig yung yung Lubang Fault, diga. Pagka nagkakaroon ng lindol malapit sa Calatagan, sa Mabini, diga. Ayun, yun ang Batangas City, maliit lang. Ayun ang Taal. Yun. So yan. Ito naman sa region 4B, baliktad nga lang. So region 5 and yan. So on and so forth. So yan. So to further discuss ng ating tag dito. ng ating discussion, magpe-play ako ng video na ni-record ni Regine Panganiban. She will be talking about the ano nga yun? The inelastic design spectra. So yan.
Inelastic response spectra or
So rinig nyo ba?
spectra. The inelastic response
Medyo mahina, pero rinig naman.
information approach
Sige,
to
salamat.
seismic design.
Mahina nga talaga.
Recent study
Oo.
at developing yield displacement spectra, constant spectra,
I-ano mo muna. Saan nakaano yung video mo? I-present mo siya in a new tab.
Ay, sige po.
Nasa ano ba siya? Nasa Google Drive.
Hindi po. Dinownload ko po siya, sir.
Pero saan mo dinownload? From?
Sa Google Drive din po.
Oo. I-open mo na lang yung Google Drive. Tapos i-present mo as a tab para mas maganda yung audio ng video.
Okay po. Nasaan? Wait lang po. Medyo malabo.
inelastic response spectra or
Okay na po,
inelastic
sir.
design spectra. The inelastic response
Mas
spectrum
okay
method
naman.
is a promising approach in a seismic design. The present study aims at developing yield displacement spectra, constant strength spectra, constant ductility spectra, reduction factor spectra, inelastic acceleration spectra, and inelastic yield displacement spectra. So, inelastic define the material response in relation to the stress strain diagram that is nonlinear and that retains a permanent strain or returns to an unstrained state on complete unloading. So next is the basic design objective of seismic resistant design. First is to protect the life safety of the building occupants and the general public. The second is to control the severity of damage in small or moderate earthquakes. So when an earthquake strikes, the intensity of earthquake shaking determines the severity of damage. So the expected seismic performance of building is resist a minor level of earthquake, ground motion without damage, and resist a moderate level of earthquakes, ground motion without structural damage but possibly experience some non-structural damage. So, this is expected po ng desire of performance from structure in case of these two levels of earthquake. So, the minor shaking with no damage to structural and non-structural elements. Then, a moderate shaking with minor damage to structural elements and some damage to non-structural elements, but severe and infrequent shaking with damage to structural elements but with no collapse. So under the two minor and moderate levels, ground motion should be elastic or lightly inelastic. So they need to require elastic response. Then you can use the acceleration under the two levels of ground motion. Then the displacement spectra for stiffness. The main concern should be drift control. So, but for a major level of earthquake, Ground motion having an intensity equal to the strongest either experience or forecast for the building site without collapse, but possibly with some structure as well as non-structural damage. So, ang major level of earthquake po ay the expected performance is not elastic or lightly inelastic, but the response of structure may go into inelastic and significant po ng nonlinear. So, under this kind of performance, the structure obviously the inelastic design spectrum. So, uniform building code, if you compare the base shear coefficient from the elastic design spectrum and the standard code of design spectrum, for example, is uniform building code. So, you will observe, for example, this line, solid black line, then VV divided W is elastic design spectrum, representing the elastic design spectrum, but the different building code that recommend more proof design structure based on the elastic design spectrum, but the recommend to reduce spectrum by the affector with sometimes called in affector or response modification affector in some code. So, ang RW equals to 4 to 12 in some code called the behavior factor to the elastic design spectrum is divided by that affector, which can be then this range 4 to 12, and reduced spectrum should be used for the purpose design of new structure. So VB in this graph is the peak base reduce the linear inelastic system by the strong ground motion, having the PGA equals 0.4 G. So, starting the point of PGA equals to 0.4. So, the solid of black line is representing the elastic design spectrum. So, ang VB po ay nagre-reduce ng linear elastic system and of that design of earthquake. So, we normalize po na ang VV with the sometimes called the base shear coefficient. So, VV po ay under na tinatawag ding FSO. And the VV same as the FSO or F, not which is elastic force, and then we can normalize also the different type strain range. As you can see here that the elastic spectrum is significantly compared to design spectrum purpose the building code. So, uniform building code, you can see here the example, the different RW, ito po yung 4 to 12, you will be somewhere in this range and you will be designing your structures force, which is 4 lower than what is required to remain elastic or the elastic design spectrum. So, most buildings are designed for base shear much smaller than the elastic base shear associated with the strongest shaking that can occur at the site. So, the smaller black line represents this strongest shaking that can occur on your site. You're not giving to design your structure base this line. You will reduce it and will design structure or widely base shear or capacity ng structure, base shear, here which is you lower the elastic demand. So, ang buildings designed by the code forces will be deformed beyond the limit of linearly elastic behavior when subjected to ground motion represented by the 0.4G design spectrum. So, the next is force deformation relationship. During an earthquake, structure undergo acceleratory motion with reversal of the deformation. So, the earthquake excitation will be cyclic, so the structure undergoing level of cyclic deformation, the forces, the effective of earthquake forces will be changing the direction, and therefore the structure will all undergoing the acceleratory motion. So the difference of cyclic loading condition and cyclic force is depends on several factors, and their family factor is the structural material, concrete steel, type of structural member, beam shear member, axial member, and how members are assembled in the structural system. So, this is an example of force deformation relationship. So an experiment, we try to cyclic force by applying push and pull the cycle structure, and then recall the force of deformation behavior of each step. And para po maintindihan ng behavior to understand the force or structure during ng real earthquake than excitation. So this kind of experiment, which our sometimes called the cycle load test, start of formulation, different force, deformation behavior, or pagkakaiba ng elements. So next is force deformation relation of a steel beam. So for example po, we have steel member like this. So, and you can apply force which is cyclic in nature, push and pull, and we give force to get enough number. So, we can the cyclic force deformation response by just applying force for 3 months and recording. We can come up this kind of behavior where tell as loading and unloading behavior and cyclic degradation and all other important ng parameters such cyclic response or particular element. So, ang hysteresis loop, ay this cyclic response is also sometimes called the hysteresis loop, and this can be developed cyclic deformation, and that hysteresis loop tell us the inelastic behavior and cyclic forces. So, this example po, itong drawing. So, dito po tayo magmumula. And here, you can see that the hysteresis loop center this point and changes becomes soft. And then when you unloaded this come back, the original position is almost follows a stepless, which it has deformation. Ari. Hirap. So an other side also will follow nonlinear trend, and while unloading doesn't come back to the origin, diretso po namin dito. Doesn't come back to the origin, it has permanent deformation, and we increase the number of cycle, we can expect the cyclic degree relation, both stiffness strength. So, next is force deformation relations of a structural steel component. So, similarly, another example, and you can steel beam and bending moment cyclic minor. And for the distortion, the rotation, basically here the particular point represented is recorded for each action of moment. At you can see here, this is actual force, behavior and kind of moment, and corresponding distortion behavior, and is inelastic and nonlinear behavior. So,
So yun, wait lang ha. Wait lang po. Sorry. So, dagdagan ko lang yun, sinabi ni Regine. Wait lang. Dito, so the basic design objective of seismic design resistant building. So, pinaka ano niyan, pinaka main concern natin is to protect the life and the safety of the building occupants and the general public, and to control the severity of damage in small and moderate earthquakes. So, yan. So, pag nagde-design tayo ng seismic resistant building, we consider yung mga taong titira or gagamit ng building na yon, and also yung general public na kumbaga yung mga pumapalipot din na building dun sa itatayo nating structure. So, mapa sa city man yan or sa isang or a residential building or kung sa rural man na area. So, kailangan natin consider yung factors na yan, yung yung life and safety ng mga titira, and also yung damage or severity ng damage kung magkaroon man ng small or moderate earthquakes. Ayan. So, dito, the expected seismic performance of the buildings. So, when considering elastic design spectrum, yung ano natin, yung building natin, ang expected natin is to resist a minor level of earthquake, ground motion without damage, and also a moderate level of earthquake without structural damage, or possibly experience some non-structural damage. So yan. So dito sa design spectrum, sa elastic design naman, ang kina-consider natin is the acceleration spectra for strength design, and also the displacement spectra for stiffness, or yung kanina yung, di ba, yung pinag-usapan natin, displacement ng building, yung peak displacement. So, ito yung important sa elastic design. Ngayon sa inelastic design spectrum, inelastic design strength demand spectra for strength din. Pero dito, ang kina-consider natin is the major level of earthquake, ground motion, yan, having an intensity equal to the strongest, yung pinakamalakas, kaya major level of earthquake eh. So either the experience or forecast for the building site. So without collapse, yun yung inaano natin, pinaka-expected na performance natin ng building. Pero kung magkaroon man ng damage ay non-structural damage. Some structural as well as non-structural damage. Yan. Dito, oscillatory motion, the first deformation relationship. So, undergo oscillatory yan. Oscillatory, mali lang. Typo lang. So, with the reversal of deformation. So, di ba, oscillatory, parang paulit-ulit, or the cyclic loading conditions pala. So, if the experimental results from the cyclic loading conditions indicate that the cyclic force deformation behavior of a structure depends on. So, pag cyclic loading conditions, ito ay parang ina-analyze natin yung kumbaga magiging effect ng force na yon doon sa specific na isa na member natin, like the structural material, the type of structural member. So structural material, kung mapas concrete man siya or steel. So di ba pinag-aaral natin 'yan. Tapos ngayon ay the type of structural member, the beam, kung shear ba siya or kung axial member ba siya. Ngayon, how members are assembled into the structural system. So ito ay napaka-important nito pag ina-analyze natin yung cyclic loading conditions. So ano nga ba ang cyclic loading conditions or cyclic loading? Ito yan. Yung hysteresis loop under the cyclic deformation because of inelastic behavior. Ito example. So dito, the first deformation relation of a steel beam. Yan. So let's say ito yung steel beam natin. Yan, nagkaroon ng deformation na U or mu. Okay, yun na lang. Yan, so the first F. So yan, dito, sa part na to, nilagyan natin ng load. Ngayon, dito, tinanggal natin ng load. So, bumalik siya. So yan, kakaroon ulit lang siya. Kung ano yung mangyayari na displacement, ganun. The deformation na yan. Ganun. Tapos ay, ito, tandaan nyo to, typical force deformation is hysteresis loop shape for concrete and masonry structural elements. So ito yung inaano natin, ideal elastoplastic. So, yan, ganyan yung kanyang force and displacement na relationship. So, pagtaas ng force, meron displacement, kumbaga ay linear, tapos dito din, linear din. So, dito ata ay pag nandito, tinanggalan yata siya ng force. Or yun, basta yun, yan. So, bumalik lang siya, nagkaroon ng cycle, diga, kung mapapansin nyo. Yun yung cycle 1. So, paulit-ulit lang yan. So, magkakaroon ka nandito, cycle 2 ng tawag doon. Dito naman, beam plastic hinge. So, di ba, pinag-aralan natin sa steel design yung mga beam plastic hinge. Yung parang, tawag dito, failure ng structure ng beam. Ayan. So, sa column naman, ganito. Tama, 2 beses siyang umulit. Dito naman, squat structural wall. So, yan, ganyan example niya. So, sa T-section wall, ganyan. And the shear failure. Mapapansin nyo, shear failure talagang magulo. Diga, magulo ang kanyang cyclic or tip ang kanyang force deformation na loop. So, yan. So, tandaan nyo yan. Yan, basta tandaan nyo yan. So, moving on. Yan, elastoplastic idealization. Wait lang. Lang po. So yan, so far may tanong ba kayo? Sa inelastic design at sa elastic design bago tayo magpatuloy?
Medyo wala naman, naintindihan namin yung lessons.
Yun. Sige, thank you. So, wait lang po. Saan yun? So, ngayon, to discuss the elastoplastic idealization, May I call on Miss Acil to discuss? Miss Acil, nasan dyan ka ba?
Sa design option pa ako.
Sorry naman. Yan, sige. So, elastoplastic idealization. So, sorry for the inconvenience. So, first deformation curve during initial loading and the actual and the elastoplastic idealization. So, yan. Sa Garne. Ayan, baga parang stress strain diagram na ina-analyze natin. Yan, sa force. So, linear to, nagkaroon ng ano dito. Yun yung actual, pero ito yung idealize natin. Yung, ano natin, yung dash line na yan. So, yan. So, dito, okay po. Ayan. So, after, the yield deformation, nandito yan sa part na yan. And the maximum deformation is the UM. Tapos dito naman, considering on the right figure, yan, ganyan yung parang tawag dito, effect ng ng yield strength and FY. Ito pala yung FY. Tapos dito, pag ang FS, siguro yung force natin, mga force FS. So, nagkaroon siya ng displacement. Diga, yun yung original, yung dash line. So, nagkaroon ng deformation. Diba yan yung ina-analyze natin sa sa mga structures natin. Yan. So, dahil as to continuation, so, the first deformation curve of an elastoplastic system for a typical cycle of loading, unloading, and reloading. So, yan. Yan yung kanina. Yung first deformation curve na pinag-uusapan natin dito. Yan. Kaya sinabi ko, a typical cycle of loading, unloading, and reloading. So, dito sa part na to, nag-load, tinanggal, so bumalik. Ganun. Modit lang siya. So, deformation niya, tapos sa force ay y-axis, sa x ay deformation. So, the simplest model of inelastic behavior of simple structure under cyclic loading. Cycle yung loading niya. So, mu or u is the ductility factor which is equals to um over uy, which um is equals to maximum deformation over the yield deformation. The ductility factor is commonly used as an index of seismic induced inelastic damage. Ductility factor, yan, tandaan niyo yan. This is commonly used as an index of seismic induced inelastic damage. So, elastoplastic system and its corresponding linear system having the same K in their initial loading phases. So, yan. Ganito yung diagram ng elastoplastic system. Nagkaroon lang siya ng additional na U sub O. Yun yung corresponding linear system. Ayan. So, the response of elastoplastic system to earthquake ground motion. Ito, this equation is the equation of motion. Ito ay na-derive gamit yung kaninang equation na pinakita ko sa inyo nung first part sa response spectrum. Yung may mass, tapos ay merong, ano nga yun? Tawag dun. Basta yun. C, tas yung FSU, tas ito yung, yung earthquake natin. So, where FSU is the nonlinear function of U, ito pala. The response UT to an earthquake ground motion can be computed from the above equation. So the nonlinear resisting force Fs, yan, can also be obtained from the elastoplastic force deformation relation. For a low-level ground motion, the system may behave like a linear system with F is equals to 1 over 2 pi multiplied to the square root of K over M, where K is the initial stiffness in the elastic range. So, K is the initial, this is K. So, yun, yung K natin. Or dito, yan, stiffness in the elastic range. Ito yan. Yun ang elastic natin. Part na yun. So, yan. Ang time frequency natin is 1 over. Yan. So, effects of inelasticity of earthquake responses. So, ito is an example lang siya. So, response of a linearly elastic system with T is equal to 0.5 seconds and damping ratio is equal to 0 to L centro ground motion. Kumbaga, ito yung type ng R yung pangalan earthquake natin. The deformation U with respect to time. So, yan. As you can see, ganyan yung deformation natin nung na-record natin yung earthquake na yun. So, ang U natin, maximum U natin daw is 3.34 inches. Yan, English unit. So, force naman natin, Fs over W. Yan. So, ang range naman niya pala, ito pala range na to ay 10 to 20, 30 seconds. Yan. Yan. So, from 0, yan, makikita natin hanggang 30 seconds, ang maximum natin ng force is equal to 1.37. Yan. So, ganyan yung pag-analyze ng inelasticity or linear elastic system. Yan, ito. Medyo madugo-aring part na to. Pero ito naman example lang. So, deformation response and yielding of 4 elastoplastic systems due to L central ground motion. So, ito naman 4 na for elastoplastic system. T equals 0.5, damping ratio is 0.05, and Fy is equals to Fo, yan. So, all 4 systems have identical properties in the linear elastic range but they differ in their yield strength. Yan. Kakaiba daw ng yield strength sila. Kung mapansin natin dito sa baba. Tama to. Positive tas may negative na yield strength. The systems with lower yield strength yield more frequently and for longer intervals. So, yan. Pag mababa daw ang yield strength natin, mas frequent daw yung yield natin. And tas mahaba din yung kanyang yield interval. With more yielding, the permanent deformation or UP, yon ang UP natin, of the structure after the ground stops shaking tends to increase. So yan, pagka daw nag-yield palagi, with more yielding, magkakaroon tayo ng permanent deformation ng structure pagkatapos ng earthquake. So yan, elastoplastic, yan na, pagka 0.5 FO, elastoplastic, kakaunti ang yield natin. So, ang maximum natin ay 0.17 inches lang. Pero pagdating dito, 0.125 na FO natin, madami na yung yield, kung mapapansin nyo, sa 30 seconds. Diga? Kumbaga, magkakaroon na siya ng permanent deformation of 1.13 inches. Malaki na din yun. Kumbaga, sa natin, sa building natin. Ayan, so ductility factor of for elastoplastic system A, B, C, D, yield strength, yield deformation, kumbaga ito lang yung summarize niya. Maximum deformation, mapapansin nyo, 2.25, malaki no? Tapos ductility factor is 1.0. For each system, the computed yon, ductility factor U is the ductility demand imposed on elastoplastic systems by the ground motion. The system should be designed such that its ductility capacity or the ability to deform beyond the elastic limit exceeds the ductility demand. So decreasing in yield strength, increasing in ductility demand. So ganun lang yung kanyang concept. So yan. So inelastic design response spectra obtained from the comprehensive statistical study of yield strength demands on simple structure when subjected to many different ground motions recorded in various earthquakes. So yan, papansin nyo, comprehensive statistical study of yield strength demands. So mean normalized strength demand for spectra. Ito ay example lang ha. Yan. Example lang yan. So Ry, the system's yield strength, Fy natin, M, the mass of the system, PGA, peak ground acceleration, pinakamataas. The computed results are based on, tanyo, ang dami, 124 ground motions. So, ang daming ground motion yun na kinonsider. Tapos, yung system niya ay bilinear hysteretic behavior. So, yan. Sa rock sites pa lang yan. So, ito ang period. on Dini naman. So design options. A structure may be designed for earthquake resistance by making it strong, by making it ductile, or by designing it
Hello.
what? Economic combinations of both properties. Ito ay i-discuss ni Miss Acil.
So, ayun po, no. Proceed po tayo sa design option. So, the structure may be designed for earthquake resistant by making it strong, by making it ductile, or by designing it for economic combinations of both of these properties. So, makikita natin na kapag yung mu or yung u ay yung ductility natin is nag-increase, yung required Fy niya ay, which is yung yielding strength niya, is magde-decrease. So, meaning, yung structure can be more ductile, yung required na yield niya ay bababa lang. So, we can have economic combination of both properties for any given structure para makagawa tayo ng design. So, for example, considered a simple structure with time equals to 0.5 seconds and damping ratio is equals to 0.05. So, if the structure is designed for strength F0 equals to 0.9 W, it will remain within its linearly elastic range during the L center ground motion or center ground motion. Therefore, it needs not to be ductile. So, kaya makikita natin na yung U is equals to 1. Hindi na kailangan ng structure to be ductile kung iseset natin yung Fy to 0.9 W. So, on the other hand, yung structure can be developed a ductility factor of 8. Sabihin natin na yung structure ay gawa sa pagka-ductile na material na kaya masustain yung ductility value of 8. Tingnan natin yung U is equal to 8. Makikita din natin na yun ay need na yield strength niya ay very low. So, meaning, yung structure, which are ductile structure, their strength requirements, yield strength demand is less. So, structure can be economic combination of the ductility and the required yield strength also. For example, if the ductility is equals to 2, we can design it with the required yield strength of 30% of F0. So, we can design our structure for high yield strength that doesn't need to be ductile or more ductile with less yield strength or economic combination of both properties. Next is normalized strength Fy of elastoplastic system. So, yung top line is for elastic structure. Yung U is equals to 1 means that the structure will remain elastic. So, but if the structure has capacity of U equals to 2, the Fy over F0 will be reduced to 0.5 or less than that. So, for high ductility ratio, yung U natin is equals to 8. The required yield strength is even less than what is required to remain elastic. Also depends on the initial time. Next slide. So, inelastic design response spectra. So, makikita natin na the same procedure for different ground motion, different structure, and different time periods is repeated to obtain ductility spectrum. So, this is use 124 ground motion system with bilinear hyteretic behavior and 3% post-yielding stiffness. This is plotted for different level of ductility, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And you can see the Ry is equals to the system yield strength and it is normalized with the mass of the system and peak ground acceleration. So you will have the factor of Ry, and for different level of ductility, you can see the lines. This is for the rock sites, and the process for the underground recorded in alluvium site. Ano? Tama ba? And soft soil sites are also repeated constant ductility spectrum. Next slide. So next is the concept of overstrength and ductility. The important design parameter which are rooted in the inelastic response single linearly system. Suppose that a structure is designed to resist a code prescribed design shear VB by allowable strength design method. So then let's say that the behavior the under monotonically increased load would be, we will observe that the actual level of yield, this structure will not suddenly yield bendy. Force will increase from this VB. So it will yield at the high level, and you can say that Fy, the yield strength of the structural system, will be considerably higher than the design-based shear VB. So ideally, if you provide the capacity of the structure just equals to this VB, the structure should be able to yield right after that under monetically increasing load. So, but in real structure, you will see that this structure this structure will yield at the high level can idealize it by bilinear idealization, and it will provide you as well defined yield point Fy for you structural system. So you can say that the reason for this high yield strength, which is exhibited by the structure under the monetically increasing load, is overstrength. And so going to this concept of overstrength, which is basically originating from material and up to the cross-section overstrength, that effect of overstrength can be taken account while designing the structure also. So which means that the design base shear can be set much lower that the yield strength demand, then we can say rely on this overstrength to account for that reduction. So if the yield strength is Fy, we can reduce that that number and set the design level lower than that.
So yan. Um, saan ba yun? Dito pala, dito pinakita lang yung ano, yung tawag dito. Yung design spectra sa different sites. Kumbaga ang kino-consider dito ay yung ano nga yun, soil conditions. Alluvium sites, soft soil, rock sites. Ayan. Tapos, ayun. So, kumbaga itong video na to is the summarized summarized video na yun, it talks about the inelastic and the elastic response spectra. So, yan, sit back and watch the video.
What I wanted to do today is talk about inelastic spectra and pretty much take you on a tour of the different aspects of inelastic spectra. I have many slides, and so only because this is something that I've been working on, I've put a lot of ideas together. So what I like to do is introduce you to the different concepts in inelastic spectra. So I want to make sure that I just give you guys a little insight into what the experience that I've had with inelastic spectra. this is kind of my perspective on what we're doing, and I really want to emphasize this perspective, that it's important.
Saan yun? Tama pala.
Get bogged down into the details of, even just a single degree of freedom system.
May sound ka po.
Meron naman. Naririnig namin.
Sige, wait lang.
Inside of the behavior of natural structure. The objective for today is to define the analytic spectra and talk about terminology, and also just really gain an understanding of the different components.
Bro, parang walang sounds.
Wala. Sige, wait lang. Kita niyo na naman. Wait lang.
Idea not just of the amplitude of your earthquake, but also to give you an idea of the frequency content. And based on that, that frequency content is going to give you information about the response of your structure. So in one plot, you could really identify right away, it tells you everything about how your building is going to behave. And just in one simple figure. And as we go deeper down the rabbit hole today, to really keep in mind that sometimes even this simple elastic response spectrum provides 97% of the insight. And so what we're trying to do is, what additional insight can we make into our model? Response spectrum is typically associated with a ground motion itself, while a design spectrum is associated with the site and what's expected in shaking in your structure. Very important to keep the two concepts separate, and we're going to mainly be focusing on the response spectrum. Different structures with different periods have different response to the different ground motions. And the main difference between, oftentimes people ask you, why are you doing the response spectrum? Why not just a Fourier spectrum? A response spectrum takes into account the damping. And damping has a way of almost coupling the modes between, even if the main frequency is at one period range, it will actually affect your structure that is in a different period range, or at least close enough. So that's why we're looking at response spectrum and not Fourier analysis. Response spectrum is of a simple single degree of freedom system, and the main properties are damping, and then stiffness and mass, which are put together into a fundamental period or frequency. And this is something I wanted to make sure that we're all starting at the same place, but oftentimes we take this definition for granted. In the way we compute it is you pretty much write a loop. And so I want you to start thinking about, this is very easy to do in OpenSeas, that you just build single degree of freedom systems and you just vary different damping ratios. Typically, we're only looking at 5%, but most of the time we're actually looking at a lot more damping levels. Or you pick a particular one. We pick a certain ground motion or set of ground motions, and then we just literally run a time history response analysis on that single degree of freedom system. We pull out the maximum response, maximum absolute value of the response, and we plot it as a function of period. And so from that, we get the spectral displacement. Typically in elastic response spectra, we then take that displacement and convert it into pseudo acceleration and pseudo velocity. It's important that we're looking at these pseudo quantities. We're not looking at the total acceleration, because what we're really interested in, first of all, structural engineers, is responses associated with deformation. And two is because you don't have all this kinetic energy and damping energy that's really difficult to then separate. So what we're looking at is the PSA, is the pseudospectral acceleration that we compute from our displacement response spectrum. Why am I making a big deal? Because this is going to come into play when we look at inelastic response. And when we're looking at inelastic response, we have to step back and look at displacement. Here's a fun way to plot. It's an interesting way of plotting a response spectrum, which is really the ideal. It's called the tripartite plot, where because of this relationship between the period, the velocity, and the acceleration, you can actually plot all three of them into one plot, where the horizontal is the period, and then you've got the different angles for acceleration, velocity, and displacement response spectrum. You'll often see this, and it's kind of a neat way of looking at this plot. I wanted to show you a quick demonstration of this is all in OpenSeas. This is what we're actually doing when we're doing our single degree freedom analyses. I do it with a lot of them, and what you see on the top right-hand side is the response. Same ground motion, different periods and characteristics. Here I'm just showing you as a height. You get, different maxima, different frequency content, and it almost looks like, the higher frequency ones, the stiffer structures, and not necessarily stiffness, because there's also mass associated with it. You almost don't see the deformations, which is an important feature of stiff structures. Just because you don't see the deformations doesn't mean that they're not there, and that maybe forces may actually be more important. So that was the demonstration there, just to give you an idea. What we often do is we take elastic response spectra and we compare them to the design spectra for your site. And remember, I told you before, you've got a ground motion, but you also have, at a certain site, a certain level for which structures are designed. And so it's neat with elastic response spectra when you plot those against the design spectrum. And so this is a project that we had done after the South Napa earthquake. And we're just looking at comparing, these are the spectra in the two directions, the H1 and the H2, so handled individually, and you compare them to the design spectrum. And by doing that comparison, you could see, hey, look at this, structures that are in the period range between maybe 0.1 second to half a second are expected to exceed the design level, while structures in the other period ranges are not expected to see it. But for the same earthquake, you're at a different site. Now you may have a different design spectrum as well as a different response spectrum. And therefore now in this case, structures in this period range are affected. And then, maybe you're far enough that you're so far away from your design spectrum. So it's interesting, and I'm focusing on this because I think it's important to understand what the response spectra are doing, and especially when we start off with something that we're familiar with, such as an elastic spectrum. And so that's it, that's easy. Elastic response spectra are relatively easy. When you get into inelastic response spectra, now you've got, you're looking at the inelastic response of your structure. You've got energy dissipation, you've got a yielding in your system, as well as you've got energy dissipation. That leads to a difference in response, just purely based on strength. So you may have the same initial properties, and so your elastic response spectrum will give you the same values, while if you actually subject it and do a nonlinear analysis, you'll see that you have different maximum displacements depending on the strength of your structure. I'm going to give you a little demonstration of that. I'm big on demonstration. So now what I have is, again, still in 1D, and these are structures that right now the two models are overlaid, where you've got the elastic and the inelastic structure right on top of the other, okay? And so you don't really see the difference. But as soon as the amplitude goes up, and you see these are different periods and different strengths, you'll see that as now we go into the inelastic response, you start seeing yielding. And your overall response is different. And so here, you just, we have a soft story effect in the system here. But really to show you, hey, look at what's going on, not only different strengths, but also different periods will have different responses between elastic and inelastic. And another important feature, and I will address that later, is that at the end, you may end up with residual displacements, and the residual displacements are important. We are able to capture those even in a single degree of freedom system. So that's, I think, is pretty cool.
And the next branch unfolds into the darkness.
I turn into an owl and fly up to see what's ahead.
But now things get interesting. People call it complicated. I think it gets interesting. How are we going to idealize that single degree of freedom system? And we're used to, and we've seen a lot of this when you just do the simplest resolution is an elastoplastic system. You've got elastic response until you yield a maximum strength. And then you've got, zero tangent stiffness, and you keep on cycling. And it's similar to the behavior that I showed you before. And so now you've got to take into account what is the envelope. It's not just an elastic stiffness, but how are you going to model this envelope? How do you convert a curve that is curvilinear like this into a bilinear response, elastoperfectly plastic, or more interesting, as I will show you in the next slides. You also need to take into account how are you going to model the loading and the reloading behavior, as well as the strength and stiffness degradation over time because of cycling. So now the problem has gotten more interesting and more challenging. So, and this is something that I want your brain to start thinking about. Well, it really depends on the type of structure that we're modeling. This is a neat example from Chopra's textbook. It's actually a great resource to start looking at inelastic response. And here's on the top, you see the forces. In an elastoperfectly plastic system, the deformations at the top. In the middle, we look at forces. And the forces, pretty much they cap at the yield strength. And so now we can't plot spectral accelerations anymore. We actually have to look at displacement. And so what we're used to looking at pseudo PSA response spectra, when we're talking about inelastic response spectra, we're always talking about deformation measures. And I will show you how there's a lot of different metrics that we can look at. Also, the maximum strength demands that you could achieve, that you would need for certain deformation requirements. The other interesting thing that you have to take into account and think about in an inelastic response is how many times do you go into the plastic range. And so if you look at this plot, which is an elastic system and then weaker and weaker. So as we take the yield strength is equal to the elastic strength. But now if we reduce our yield strength, we expect our structure to go more and more inelastic. Well, what's interesting is you get more and more residual displacement. Your displacement peaks are in completely different places. Here was a negative, here was positive. And also the yield count is something that may be important to your structure. It really depends on your structural system and whether that's a metric that's important, but it is something that you can track. And you'll notice here, the weaker the structure, the more it's going to go into the nonlinear response. And that's very important because the weaker the structure, the more ductile you need to make it, because the ductility demands are going to go up. The inelastic deformations are going to go up. And so that's when it comes in, and now we build these inelastic response spectra. You've got your model, and so this is from Chopra's book, therefore this is a simple, elastic, perfectly plastic system. So we've only really made one additional parameter, which is your yield strength. And now you can really see by just changing one parameter, we get very different responses. And the difference in responses really depends on the period of your structure. And you can plot different quantities, and it's very important to think about what quantities and what type of response spectra do you want to look at. So this one here is purely deformations. It's the maximum displacement. On the left is divided by the ground displacement, or you can normalize it with respect to the elastic displacement. So now you're taking the amplitude of your structure out, the amplitude of your earthquake out, because you're normalizing it by the maximum elastic displacement. And so you'll look at these and you'll find these normalized deformations. And look at what's interesting here, and you'll see it here as well, is short period structures are very, very sensitive to displacements. They get really, really large displacements once you have yielding. And it's important because that's a very different type of response than these more flexible structures. And you could almost see it in the little demonstration that I gave you, but in the little demonstration, see this displacement values here, this is logarithmic. These displacement values are much lower than these displacement values for the more flexible structures. But if you normalize it, now you see, hey, wait a minute, my demands are, I expect my lower period structures to be much more affected and more problematic during inelastic response. And so these are two types of inelastic response spectra that you can develop. Another set is when you bring in the definition of ductility. And why is ductility important? Well, ductility is a good metric of damage, and it's really pretty much the ratio of your maximum displacement divided by the yield displacement. So if your ductility is less than 1, you're elastic. If it's greater than 1, you're inelastic. This is something we all know and take for granted, but it's really, really important in evaluating structures and the information that we get from our single degree of freedom system. The other thing to take into account when you go into ductility greater than 1 is that now you're dealing with residual displacements as well. And that's a measure that needs to be kept in mind as you do your analysis or evaluate your structural performance. And so now that we've defined ductility, now you're going to find these ductility demand spectra, which is pretty much the step. We take what we had before, which was our maximum displacement demand, but instead of dividing it by our elastic displacement demand, we divide it by our displacement capacity. Okay, and so now this is proportional to, if you have a very short period structure, the deformation capacity is going to be small compared to a long period structure. And so it's a much better normalization now of these amplitudes. But again, if we plot, these are the different strengths. So Ry, remember I had told you before, Fy is the ratio of the yield strength to the elastic demand. And so the inverse is, the weaker the structure, the higher the R ratio is. And so as you weaken your structure, your ductility demands go up. And so it's very important when we're looking at inelastic structures to make sure at the design end to provide that ductility capacity. So the ductility level is really important in what we're doing, and we're computing our inelastic spectra, because that's what we're trying to communicate to the designer or to our client. The inverse of that is, and this is a really almost the most popular spectra, is the constant ductility spectra. Now, because typically in design, especially when you relate it to displacement-based design, but even at performance levels, right? When you think about a ductility of 8, then you know that something is about to collapse. Lower ductility levels, you can almost relate to different performance levels. So you want something to remain almost elastic. So maybe you want to design your structure to reach a ductility level of 1.5. If you have, reinforced concrete columns, it's just a bridge, maybe you might be happier, you're fine with going to higher ductility levels. And therefore, what this constant ductility spectrum tells you, and it's pretty much an interpolation of these curves moved over. So this is just data processing, as were all these other, and it's still one analysis, and it really depends on how you process the output, is I'm going to tell you, hey, I want to design my structure to reach a ductility demand of 4, because that's a good place to be. And it has a period of maybe 3 seconds. Well, you go here, you take your curve, you look at your period, and you find out, okay, I have to define my structure to have an R factor, quote unquote, a ratio of my yield capacity to either the elastic capacity or the weight. It really depends on how you plot this, of 0.2. And that's really what the objective of these constant ductility spectra are. These are very much for design. And then the ones on the left-hand side are more for evaluation. If you have a strength of your structure, tell me what the performance is going to be. And so that's, with the same data, you can be communicating two very different concepts. If I'm an analyst, maybe I'm interested in the one on the left, because that tells me what the demands are. If I'm a designer, I want the one on the right, which tells me for what capacity do I need to design the strength when I know I can provide a certain level of ductility. Okay, so this is, to me, it's the most important concept that took me a little bit of time to get to in looking at constant ductility spectra or the different elastic spectra, because everybody talks about it and how we can compute them, but what is the real meaning and what are they communicating to us? So if you walk away with this today, I'm more than happy. Anything beyond this is extra, which of course I've got a lot more going into that. So the question at this point is, how do we compute the constant ductility spectra from the data that we used for our ductility demand spectra? And it's pretty straightforward. There's two ways that you can do this. It's kind of like, computing an intersect, okay? You use the bisection method, right? When we're trying to find something, and it is a trial and error kind of problem, right? I guess one thing, I correct, I go, oh, maybe I went too far, I go back and forth, and you can do all that. The other way to do it is you can create a database. You can run it for, which is what's on the left-hand side, you can run it for a whole lot of R factors or Fy strengths. And then, so if instead of having just 3 curves, I have 100 curves, then you can literally interpolate, just as if you're trying to find an intersect. If you just compute all the reasonable values, of course you have to stay in a range, you can find your intersect just by finding in your data set, what point intersects your line. So you could do it two ways. One, you can do it iterative, which could be faster, but it requires a lot more algorithm around it. Or you can just create a large data set, a database of these curves on the left, and then just interpolate between these two lines. Let's say you want to reach a ductility level of 5. Well, here I can find out at whatever this period here is. And so then I know that my RY factor needs to be somewhere between 4 and 8 to achieve that ductility level. And so you could do it both ways. So if I have a lot of lines here, if I compute it for, and this is the way I like to do it, just because I want to create the plot on the left and the one on the right. And computer power is cheap these days, and storing the data. So sometimes it's just easier to just create a large database of these and then interpolate these lines to just replot them into these curves. And so when you go through these interpolations, you will find that some of these lines will cross. And I believe you either choose the highest or the lowest F value. And so you could still do it, through iteration, or you could do it through the data set and you add an additional algorithm if you have more than one solution. It's very tricky whenever somebody talks about an R factor. Make sure that, and this was something I mentioned early on, the terminology is very important. In any one of these definitions, make sure that you either make clear what definition you're using, or if you're communicating with somebody, make sure you're on the same definition. The other thing to keep in mind is the effects of damping and yielding. Again, this comes from Chopra, and it's something to think about when you're building your model, what damping ratio you're gonna use. When we have an elastic system, we put in 5% damping, which is also meant to represent energy dissipation. And so when you're going into your modeling the yielding explicitly, then the recommendation is to drop your damping ratio. And it's interesting because oftentimes, and that's really the highlight of this sentence, and this is just a lot of text that's interesting from Chopra's book, and it'd be great, I recommend going to read about it, is that damping comes into play right here in the middle region. In longer period systems, there isn't, you got large deformations, and therefore it's really your hysteretic damping, as well as in your short period. And so damping is really important in this middle range. And so don't disregard it, but it's important. But, even going from 2 and you're doubling to 5 to 10% damping, your changes are only 5 to 10% in response, which is something, or actually no, because this is logarithmic. So it's important. And the moral of the story is kind of cool, is that Chopra is saying, and is making the point, is you've got to take into account damping, and it's not so easy. We can't represent hysteretic damping through viscous damping. And so make sure that you're considering both viscous damping to represent viscous damping and hysteretic damping that you're modeling explicitly in your model. And what kind of hysteresis does your model have? The point of it is here, and it's really the point that I'm making through today's presentation, is even damping is important. Everything, all the different decisions are important, and you want to evaluate what are the effects on each one? It really depends on your gram motions. It depends on your case. It depends on what you're trying to do. Another application in 2010, Professor Bozorgnia with Mahmoud Hachem and Kent Campbell. I didn't know that Kent Campbell was part of this. So they took the NGA West 1 record and ran a large and built a huge database of inelastic spectra. And that's why I recommend going on the database and then interpolating that data to get to the ductility levels, because then you have that much more data to really play with in the post-processing. And so it's kind of cool because this was the first step towards inelastic design spectra. I focused on elastic response spectra, but this work is actually heading in the direction of developing inelastic design spectra. And so it's kind of neat that they've developed these predictive curves, and this is just like the NGA GMPEs, right? A magnitude term, distance term, a fault types, and all the different same characteristics that you have for the NGA West 2 models, but actually for different levels of depending on magnitude, or here's your constant ductility spectra, where now on the vertical axis is Fy is a function of W over W here. So always read what's on the y-axis, okay? Because it's often different, and make sure that you have the definitions there. And in this case, they actually did use 5% damping, for example, in the database because they were running the whole range. And so you don't want to have discontinuities when you go from R factor of 1 to 1.5 to 2.
Yun. So, ganun yung tawag dito. Summarize no aming discussion about inelastic and inelastic response spectra. So, ngayon, may games kami. So, maganda yung price. I-announce na lang sa GC natin kung ano yung price. So, yun. So, Adrian, so share your screen na. Join kayo guys, maganda yung price, promise. Ba't ako nandyan?
Sali na po kayo, maganda ang price. Pag di kayo sumali, edi wag. Di joke, sali po, mas maganda ang price.
Page, bigay mo nga yung link.
Yan, dumadami ng ating players. Sali pa po. Basta astig ang price. Hindi ko sinasabing ako ang price, pero astig. Pero kung gusto niya, ako ay sige.
Sali.
Yan, 10 million players ng atin.
Join pa kayo guys. Ganda yung price, promise. Si Aisel na ang bahala sa price nyo.
Join na po yung iba.
15 million ang ating players. Malapit na po. Ready na ga po.
Start mo na daw.
Our strategical Ocean Minecraft. Ang first player po natin ay si Mark. Proceed po tayo sa sunod. Our best player for today's video is Mint. Okay, next na po tayo. displacement marks response of any structure. Correct answer is responses spectrum. At tatlo lang po ang nakatama. The best players meet me. Meet me. Question. What is one of the three forces which are important in designing or recording a response spectrum? Under your correct answer po.
Sinabi ko yan.
Bonus question. Ba may pa-bonus. What is the given acronym for the three Filipino martyred priests, Mariano Gomez, Eusebio Reyes, and Jacinto Zamora? Oh, ay bonus. Sumagot.
Nasagot.
Nasagot.
Wala na.
Yes, walang nag-respond.
Ed na.
Wala daw, Adrian.
Wala.
Wow.
Bakit? Sabi sa akin eh. Nawala. Pero ang pangalan natin ay si Salt Sweet 2.0. I-claim mo na ang prize. Worth
What is the prize?
$178.36 million dollars.
Oh, shit.
Congrats po. Ayun
Alright.
po.
So,
Alright.
thank you sa ating mga reporter. So, maganda yung report. Halatang inaral nila nung bago i-present. So, do you have any question or concern regarding their report? May mga tanong kayo. Pero bago ang lahat, bigyan muna natin ng virtual applause yung grupo ni Mr. Gutierrez. Maganda yung report. Anong ginamit yung reference dyan?
Yung ano po sir, yung video lecture po nung sa YouTube po. Yung concept po nung
Okay.
inelastic at elastic.
Mm-mm. Maganda yung
Tas-
pagkakaliwanag niya. Mm-mm.
Tapos meron din po
Dagdag
gumamit
na
din po
lang.
kami ng ibang video sir.
Good, good. So, may tanong ba?
Wala naman po, sir.
Okay, so wala naman. Mukhang may sakit yata si Justin.
Mag-listen lang po. Sorry po.
So sige, let's proceed with the next report. So kung ano lang matapos, effects on soil, on ground motion, or yung liquefaction. I-end ko muna tong